Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's On the Sofa. Tonight, we are going to talk to Neil Hutchins, the chairperson of the Trust, regarding the debentures and things, just explaining what that means. And we've also got Sinead and from the Prospect and Jeff from Best Mates to talk about the men's walk on Saturday. So I'm going to bring Vic straight on, because we've got a lot to get through, and I know Neil is got a time limit. So is there anything you need to do housekeeping wise, Vic, before we start?
Yeah, quickly about SAS travel, of course. A week on Saturday, it's Grimsby Town away. 12:30 kickoff for that, leaving West Swindon at 4:45 a.m. and the Niger Decanter Ground at 5:15 a.m. Now, the first three coaches for Grimsby are sold out. They're taking a reserve list for a fourth, but they need 50 people to run it at £30. So if you want to get on an SAS bus, there is a reserve list, but they need 50 people to fill it before they take that one to Grimsby. And just to explain the start of the programme, there was a floodlight at Colchester because I couldn't really think of any more highlights to show. That was the highest light of the whole evening, quite frankly. So that's why that's included. Anyway, there we are. My little
bit.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to bring Neil on, and then I will leave you for a bit. So there you go. Hi, Neil. You okay?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Neil.
Okay, right. I'm going to leave you to it, and I will get back to you later.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris, and thanks very much indeed, Neil, for joining us. I know you've done a round of media interviews. You must feel like the Prime Minister at the minute. So, you know, the debenture, all that kind of stuff. Now, as I explained to you before we started, I'm a bear with a very little brain. Business is a complete mystery to me, but Axis Football Investments is now restructured. Clem Morfuni's holding companies, football company, Seebeck, Swinton Reds Group have been removed. It is purely Clem Morfuni's boat, as it were, 100%. And then there's the debenture. Tell us about it.
Okay, so let's break this into two different parts, because although everything happened at the same time, there are two distinct things happening. So let's talk about the restructuring first of all. Over many years, the ownership of the football club was held by a company called Seebeck 87, I think it was. And then above them was Swinton Reds, and above them was Access Football Investments. So those four companies made up the ownership structure of the football club. And that goes back probably 10, 15 years. That's not something new. The only new bit was when Clem Morfuni came in and acquired the club. His Access company acquired Swinton Reds, which was the top of those stack of companies. So on Good Friday, we found out through, sorry, no, that's not true. A few days before Easter, we found out through Anthony Hall, who gave us 48 hours warning that there'd been changes to that corporate structure, that Swinton Reds and Seebeck have now gone, that the football club itself is now 100% owned by Access Football Investments. So that's the first part in this story. So what does that mean in itself? Well, we're kind of simplifying the ownership structure is a good thing. Removing all these extra companies in the middle is good governance. Nothing wrong with that. I think the thing that a lot of people have kind of asked is what's happened to the two minority shareholders who up until recently had 22% of the football club. The description we've had, I think Anthony Hall was interviewed by the BBC and I think said that the shares have been acquired back. It's unclear as to the mechanism which has taken place, but the formal part is that Clem Morfuni's Access Football Holdings Company, investments company, now owns 100% of the club. Now, it has to be said, that's not appeared on Companies House yet. So it's unusual that that's not appeared yet. It's something that the club have to report. Christian Morfuni's appointment as a director isn't on Companies House yet either. So there's some housekeeping still outstanding, and we've asked a question about that. But from a restructuring point of view, the key thing here is that Clem Morfuni is reportedly now back to owning 100% of the football club, which was the case before. the previous debenture of 2.8 million was settled, which no doubt we'll come on to in a moment.
Yes, we will. Ben Christwood and Anthony Hall are now full directors. Christian Morfuni is a non-executive director, as I understand it. So have they appeared in company houses at all, Ben Christwood and Anthony Hall, or have they not yet been put on there?
Yeah, so Anthony and Ben appeared fairly quickly after it was announced. In fact, I think they appeared first and then it was announced afterwards. The appointment of Christian Morfuni was announced by the club, but hasn't appeared on Companies House. Now, that was a month or so ago now, I think, maybe even a little bit longer. So that's not on Companies House, and neither is the ownership change.
If he's a non-executive director, I'm just trying to help myself here, but if he's non-executive director, does that have to appear on Companies House?
If he's a legal director of the company, then yes, he does. Right. So whether he's a non-exec or an executive. So if you look at Ben and Anthony, so Anthony is chief executive, he's an executive director. Ben isn't an employee of the company, as far as we're aware. So Ben would also be a non-exec, but they have the legal responsibilities of a director of the company, and therefore they have to be registered at Companies House.
Okay. Now, the word debenture is something that goes back a long way, as you'll be fully aware. And it was one of those things that sort of hung around for a long, long time and then led to the shifting of shares, all that kind of thing. Otherwise, the club was, we were told, going to be in real trouble. And the word has reappeared. So tell us about this debenture, which is a bit like a mortgage. I think you've explained it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's right. And I can't believe that we're talking about debentures again, particularly only a couple of years after we cleared up the last one. So you're right. A debenture is not dissimilar to a mortgage. So if you go and buy a house and you want to borrow money from the bank to help pay for it, then the bank will lend you the money, but they want some security. And the security they have is a charge over your property. So if you run off to the hills or Australia or wherever you want to go, and you don't pay that debt back, then the bank can take over your house, sell it, and use the money to repay the debt. A debenture is not dissimilar. It's more technical. There's a lot more legal jargon. It runs to 44 pages for anybody who cares to read it. It's on Companies House. But the idea here is that Clem Morfuni's Access Plumbing Company in Australia has entered into a formal lending agreement with the club, and in return has agreed to put a charge over the club and everything it does and owns in order to secure the money which is being lent to it. Now, there's a couple of important things here. I think the first is that it only relates to new debt as far as we're aware. So I met with Anthony Hall on Easter Monday. He assured me that that is the case. We've asked for that in writing. We've asked to see the underlying facility agreement, which isn't in the public domain, but that will be the document that proves that's the case. So this relates to new debt. And I understand that the first payment against the debenture was the March payroll at the end of March. So we're not talking about the 10.6, 10.8 million reported at the end of the last financial year.
Which would have gone up by now.
Which is probably nearer 12 now, being honest, being realistic about it. Clubs are losing about 1.5 to 2 million a year.
It's interesting because the phrase historic debt was another one which has been bandied about. So as far as you're concerned, historic debt does not come into this debenture.
As far as we're aware, that was a direct question we put to Anthony Hall. Anthony Hall looked me in the eye and told me that that was the case. As I say, we emailed the club a week ago asking to see the underlying agreement to confirm that that is the case. So people get a bit freaked out by debentures. It's a routine commercial document. It's not something that the club's not used before. Even before the infamous Lee Power, the Andrew Black one, there's been other debentures used, and it gets used in all different business likes. I think our concern as a trust is twofold. I think specifically with regards to this debenture, the way it's been drafted, and we're very lucky as a trust that on the board and supporting the board, we have some real sharp business and legal-minded people. And our legal advisor spent most of Good Friday reviewing this document to tell us what it means. And as drafted, it captures the 50% shareholding in the joint venture company that owns the county ground. So that's not the actual ground itself. The Knights Leeds County ground is not owned by the club or the trust. It's owned by the joint venture company.
Yeah.
But the shares in the joint venture company are owned by the club, and this debenture does capture that. So as drafted, there is a charge over the 50% of shares that the club have in the joint venture company. We don't think that's correct. We don't think it's right, and we think it should be removed. When we met with Anthony, he was very straight, and he said that he didn't think that was the case. And if it was, it wasn't the intent. He was off to talk to their legal team. And if that was confirmed to be the case, and we've said with him since then how we think that that's got caught, then the club will vary the debenture to remove that charge over the shares. So we're waiting for confirmation that that's happened, and we will see that on Companies House when it does. So I think that's very specific to this. But as you say, Vic, I mean, a lot of people will remember the 2.8 million Andrew Black debenture, which got passed around 3 or 4 times privately without anybody knowing, ended up with a third party who then used that against Clem Morfuni and had to raise the 2.8 million very quickly to pay it off, to prevent a call against the debenture, which would have ultimately either put the club into administration or the club could have fallen into somebody else's hands. That led to those 22% of minority shareholders getting involved in the first place. So we praised Clem at the time for paying off that 2.8 million, with 22% of it coming from the value of the minority shareholders, and he put in the rest. We rightly praised him for that. And then 2 years later, we're now talking about a new one. And to be clear, the risk isn't today. The risk is what happens to that debenture next. It could get passed on again, as it did with the Andrew Black one. The Andrew Black one was entered into with all the right intentions, and we then lost control of it, and it ended up as it did. So our view is that this kind of lending can be done through an unsecured loan, through a director's loan account. And let's be honest with it, now that Clem owns 100% of the football club and he owns 100% of the plumbing company, why do you need a 44-page legal document between the two? That would have cost probably £10,000–15,000 in legal fees. We don't understand why you would want to put a debenture in today when you've already loaned 12 million on an unsecured basis. What's happened today that now forces that? Now you've got control of the club.
Yeah, I'm bound to ask. I mean, there's a court case going on in Australia. Is this anything to do with that? Because that's a question that's been asked. I know in Anthony Hall's interview with the BBC, he said, no, it's nothing to do with it, basically. Is that your reading of the situation?
So we've put that to Anthony, and he gave us the same answer. The problem the club have caused for themselves a little bit here is that over the last 6 to 12 months, there's been many questions from supporters put through the advisory board asking about other issues within the Access group away from the football club. And the club's response has always been along the lines of, there's no link between the two. That's Clem's other business practices. Respect you asking, but it's none of your business. There is no link between the plumbing side of the business and the football club. It's been reported at the most recent hearing in Australia that there was confirmed payments between parts of the Access group and the football club that hadn't been reported before. And the debenture that's now been put in place builds a bridge between other parts of the Access empire and the football club. So we've gone from maybe 2 or 3 months ago, the club denying there being any links whatsoever, and now it's been reported that money has been moved between the two organisations retrospectively or previously, and now intentionally with the debenture. So there's always some muddy water that we have to work our way through. And there still remains kind of doubt and concern as to why now. And the Australian hearing is the obvious place that people are looking at. The trust don't believe there's a here and now issue. We don't believe that there is anything that we should be overly concerned about today. But the trust are tracking proceedings. We've asked for a copy of the transcripts. This isn't a new hearing. This kind of case has been going on for about a year now. But we are keeping an eye on it. But we've got there's other things up our worry list a bit higher up than the Australian court case.
What does this mean to the average town fan? I mean, you know, we're all town fans. You know, we want to go and watch football. We'd love to watch football at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, but that doesn't seem to be possible anymore. You know, what does that mean? Because are we looking at a club in danger? Are we looking at a club not in danger? What are we looking at here?
So, the trust has been quite open and honest with the club that with our frustrations. We don't think the club communicate particularly well. That's not a new challenge. That's not a new complaint. That's been the case for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think because the club go quiet, and certainly at the moment they've gone to ground, they've not said anything public apart from the interview that Anthony Hall did with Sean on the BBC. It kind of creates this kind of void of anything. So it gets filled with rumour and conjecture and speculation. And what the trust try to do is pick our way through all of that and try and kind of stick to the facts and work out what's happening. And some of that we can talk about and some of it we can't. I don't think the club is threatened directly in the sense of, do I think that there is somebody out there about to pull the rug out from underneath the club? I don't believe that to be the case. But I do believe there's lots of other loose ends and bits and pieces kicking around that need tidying up and need putting to bed. And the less communication we get from the club, the more worried people get. And I can understand that. I mean, and we get criticised for why are we talking about this now when we're only 2 or 3 games away from the end of the season. That's a really good challenge, but we're reacting to things that the club are doing. The club decided to restructure the company 2-3 weeks ago. The club decided to put out a debenture on Good Friday without pre-warning anybody. We're reacting to things that the club are doing. I get that a lot of people just want to talk about football. I really do. I'm one of them. Joining the trust and being chair of the trust has ruined my football experience. I don't complain about that. It is what it is. But I look forward to the day I can actually go to a football match and actually just think about what's happening on the pitch. So,
unless it's Colchester's throw away, of course, which is
yeah. Well, we'll take that as another badge of honour, Vic. I was sat just behind you on Friday night. So yeah, it's unfortunate timing. I really hope we can now focus on the last 3-5 games of the season, or maybe 6 games of the season. But yeah, there's always seems to be something going on or going around, or like I say, today's story is debentures.
I think it's fair to say that Swindon aren't unique. I mean, football clubs generally, there's always something going on, isn't there? I mean, it's very easy to run away with the idea Swindon is always unique in its situation, but there are a lot of clubs within the Football League who go through similar things, aren't they? Yeah,
and we've seen it over the years. And you just have to look down the M4 at what Reading went through not that long ago. And things start out well and they kind of tend to unwind. So you're not wrong. But I think the disappointing thing this year is that with maybe the exception of the Port Vale playoff year, the first year that Clem Morfuni and Ben Garner was around, on the pitch and as results, although it doesn't feel like it at the moment, it's been a fantastic season. And we should be delighted that we're in the playoffs. But for lots of different reasons, both on and off the pitch, supporters seem more disconnected with the club today than they have been in many, many years.
Well,
and that's a real issue.
I'm going to get onto that in a minute because I've got an email on that very subject. This is from Tony. He says, can the trust be held responsible for any debt?
No. So all of the debt sits with the football club itself or within that holding structure. There's no debt within the joint venture, apart from some day-to-day stuff, which is kind of just part of the business plan. And even then, that tends to be kind of money transferring between the club and the trust and vice versa. So, no, I mean, when we talk about 12 million debt, that is football club debt that can't pass to the joint venture.
Right, this is from George, who's a long-standing fan, a season ticket holder of many years, right? So he says, is there any chance you could put this to Neil Hutchings? One of the most alarming things that concerns me about STFC is the chasm that's opening up between the football club and its supporters. From an outsider looking in, it almost appears that the club is pushing the fans away and barely tolerating them as a nuisance that has to be put up with. They consistently ignore or pay lip service to our wishes. For example, sort out the town end, update the PA system, create a fan zone before games, or do something more befitting about the surface around the Don Rogers statue. at a time when they should be listening to us if they want us to renew season tickets or sanction a major building project. Mr. Hall et al. Just looked down on us with contempt from their fake ivory tower. That last bit, is that fair from your experience or not?
I think there's a genuine problem at the moment in terms of the club's PR with supporters. I think some supporters will go, I don't know what the fuss is all about. Doing a great job. We're fifth in the league. We've got Ian Holloway and everything else, and we totally respect that. But at the same time, we've got supporters coming up to us saying the Trust aren't being vocal enough. Why you just sat there watching all this happening on your watch? Any day of the week, I can get criticised for being too supportive or not supportive enough. It's just crazy. There are lots of reasons that people are thinking the way that I think George is there. One thing, and I can give you a classic example. If we turn the clock back to the vote and the consultation period before last year's vote on the Don Rogers stand, there was a public consultation event, 3 live events where there was feedback given to the club and the architect. The Trust undertook its own consultation process and questionnaire. The club went and did its own with season ticket holders. All of the feedback aligned. Everybody was saying the same thing, virtually to the same percentage point. This wasn't a Trust issue. It was a general feeling around the place that concerns around leadership, concerns around deliverability of the Don Rogers. Where's the money coming from? What happens if the money dries out? All of that feedback was available, but the club, the day after, pushed on with the vote. So they went and listened to everybody. Well, so let me rephrase that. They asked for opinion, but they didn't listen to the answer. And I think our concern is, and it goes back to maybe this time last year, whereas there are some good quality footballing people at the club, without a doubt, Ian Holloway leading that on the pitch. Behind the scenes, the leadership and the management of the club as a whole, the off-field side, there's no football experience there. These are people that have come from a business to business world, and this is a business to consumer market. And even then it's a football market, which is different again. But we don't see experience being brought in at that leadership and management level off the pitch. And every whatever it is that alarms people, whether it's about Clem Morfuni, about the money, about Australian, about the town end. I mean, the town end, we're on the record, we want to chip away at that and find solutions in the town end. All we're doing at the moment as a club is moving the problem from one place to another. They've taken under 18s out of T1 and T2. Lo and behold, there's now problems in T3. What's next? Are we going to ban under 18s from the town end entirely? There's just a real disconnect that the club doesn't seem to be listening to its supporters. And whether that's because they just want to get to the end of the season and then they'll deal with everything then, or whether they just want to get to the end of season full stop, I don't know. But we've not had an advisory board for a couple of months. Next joint venture meeting's not until May. Yeah, it's hard going at the moment.
So what, in your view, should they do? I mean, they'll say, and I have to be fair here. They'll say, well, we're getting on with the day-to-day running of the football club, and it's a very busy time. Obviously, there is a possibility of playoffs, very remote chance of, say, of automatic promotion. We don't know. That's still a possibility. I don't know how many cup finals we can have in the last bit of the season, but it's quite a lot. So they would say, to be fair to them, they're getting on with the running of that. I mean, but what in your opinion, should they do? Should they talk to the... I mean, it's quite a thing. There's a big word. It's called communication. It's got a lot of letters in it, and it's quite simple, really, isn't it? This is from Sean. I'll just read this to you. Why always us? No one decent ever wants to touch us. Surely a club in a town of this size putting in would be a great option. We look all around us, and latest is Colchester being taken over. Again, another smaller club which attracts interest. The word Colchester. My question is, if we fail in promotion, are we in serious trouble with what has been spent this season? Yeah, I know time is against us, so let's try and do these two bits in one. The first one, and what my question was, what should the club do? And then, of course, the budget next season. Nobody knows what that budget's going to be. Will it be cut? In which case, will a serious challenge if promotion isn't achieved be mounted? What are your views on those?
Well, I guess the only person who can answer most of those questions, Vic, is Clem Morfuni. And the last time he was in town, he did the video session around the table instead of a fans forum. There's another fans forum in the diary for the 29th of April, which is fast coming up. I mean, that's two or so weeks away. So I guess we'll learn more then. But yeah, it's the end of the season. But what a great time to engage with your supporters, to get people excited, to bring people in. It's great to see they've opened the Stratton Bank on Saturday's game, but they've announced it 5 days beforehand. That should have been announced weeks ago. So for 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the Walsall game on Easter Monday, the county ground was rocking. Yeah. And we reminded everybody how fantastic that place can be when everybody is aligned, when everybody's kind of just focused on one thing, and that's on 11 guys kicking a little white ball around the pitch. And it was awesome. And it reminds all of us why we go to football in the first place.
Does. Absolutely.
But step away from that, and then you've got conversation about debentures. You've got a pretty poor evening in Colchester. I mean, it did feel like we were due Colchester. I mean, the last few games, we've been kind of getting away with the odd point here, the odd goal there. It did feel that we were due a Colchester at some point. Let's hope that we've got it out of our system now and we can get a bit of momentum going as we go into the last few games.
Just a little bit of news that's come in. Swindon Town can confirm that Ryan Tavazzoli has suffered a fractured elbow during our victory against Walsall. He'll undergo a specialist review on Wednesday to determine the next steps. I mean, the bloke carried on playing, for goodness sake, with a broken elbow. It tells you a lot, doesn't it? So finally, Neil, because I'm going to have to let you go. I know you've got a trust board meeting in a minute. Where are we at? What's your relationship with the club? How would you sum that up?
We've always had, and we continue to have, a professional relationship with the club. It's honest, it's direct. Sometimes it's a little bit too direct, but we can sit across the table from each other, exchange views. We don't agree with everything that each other says, but there's a level of respect there. And at the end of the meeting, we will shake hands and be friends and kind of not fall out over it. I think we've put that to the test a little bit of late. I think we owe it to our members to kind of share our frustration and our concern. So, look, I think that there's a lot going on at the moment. We need to focus on these last few games. I hope that we can everybody can just focus on the football for a few weeks, and then let's see where we are at the end of the season. There's a big few weeks ahead of us, and yeah, I mean, who knows where we're going to be? I mean, we know that revenues increase in League One, but so will the wage bill. And the question will be, does the revenues increase faster than the wage bill does? Because that's going to be the driver between competitiveness and not. If we don't get promoted, as you say, a lot of money's been spent on the players this year. I know a lot of people are disappointed about season tickets, some less so. But if we don't sort out things like the town end issues, are people going to want to come back and sign up for a new season ticket in the town end if they don't know what age group's going to be in there? So although the close season's fast approaching, there's still a lot that will need to be dealt with very quickly because the club rely on that kind of season ticket revenue during the close season.
Well, Neil, appreciate your time. I know you got nipped downstairs to a trust board meeting, so that'll take you, 30 seconds, do you think? Or
I reckon so.
Excellent. Well, we're really pleased for your time. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it, and have a good meeting.
You're very welcome, Vic.
Thanks, Neil. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Neil Hutchings here, chair of the STFC Trust, who's now going to log off and nip downstairs. There he goes. Look at that. So thank you very much indeed to Neil. Always good to talk to him. And obviously a lot of issues still to be discussed. And we will do our level best to try and get those issues discussed. That's what we're here for. We will. What's next then, Chris?
Right. Okay. So we've got Sinead and Jeff, I believe. Yes, we have in the thing. So I'm going to bring them on now. So here's Sinead. And here's Jeff.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Hi.
Right. I'm going to bring Ray on as well.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot to bring Ray on. So I'm just going to bring Ray on as well. And I'm going to leave you. So I will talk to you later.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. It's good of you. Yeah, Ray is here for a very special reason, Sinead and Jeff, and he'll go through that in a moment. But the men's walk is on Saturday. First and foremost, of course, as I hinted at earlier, it was at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, but because of, that lot, it's changed to 12:30 at Saturday lunchtime. What problems did that pose for you?
I mean, I think more so men being concerned that they might not complete the walk in time to get, to the county ground for kickoff. But I think actually, thankfully, we've kind of pretty smoothly reshaped it to fit those timings. So fingers crossed, everything will run smoothly on the day, and there's a big buzz around it, which is fabulous.
Just to explain, you're from the Prospect Hospice, of course, which is our charity of the year, as leads the football clubs. How big an event is this going to be?
So it's the first time we're running it, but the idea is that this will become an annual kind of mass participation event for us sit alongside our Starlight Walk, which has been running for the past 15 years. We now see kind of upwards of 600 people involved in that, closer to 700 last year, actually. And, part of kind of looking at what we offer, not only to our supporters, but the wider community, we recognise that we didn't really have anything that appealed to men en masse. And on top of that, we recognise that there is actually kind of a known reality where men are far less likely to seek support early. Many of them cope quietly, and that's something that's reflected in our own bereavement caseload. Last year only 22% of the men who were being supported through our family support team were men. So 22% is really small percentage when we think about how many are actually affected by loss and grief. But larger than that, statistics show that 1 in 8 live with depression. Only 12% are actually registered with their GP for mental health help. So there's a gap there between, the need and the actual kind of seeking support. So I guess the big thing to say about this is, whilst of course this is another, fundraising event to try to help our hospice, it's much wider than that. And I think that makes it quite unique in our whole kind of annual calendar of events. And of course the partnership with Swindon Town has made it possible to even trial this, so that's huge.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go on the Starlight Walk. It was a fantastic occasion. I mean, albeit walking up King's Hill wasn't my favourite bit of it, but it was a wonderful, wonderful night, and everybody was in such a good mood. So it's brilliant organised too. Jeff, you're from Best Mates. Us blokes are pretty useless, aren't we, when we talk about things? We'll talk about football and moan about that for goodness knows how long, but when it comes to our feelings, we're not so good at it. Just explain what Best Mates do.
So Best Mates, in essence, is we're a welfare charity that look after anybody that's facing life's challenges. If you're struggling, then the idea behind Best Mates, you reach out to us and we hook you up with a mate, and that's somebody with lived experience on what you're currently facing, somebody that's survived to come out the other end, that will support and guide you to a better place. And then the charity steps in to help and fund and get you to the right support, counselling, therapist, clinics, whatever you'll need to get you back onto the right pathway. But of course, being a welfare charity for anyone, the needle in this world tends to point straight back up to men's mental health. It's a massive, massive thing that's been going on over the past few years. And I think these kind of things, the guys at Prospect and what they're doing, I met them at the Swindon Town Supporters networking event, and it was just so good to start to collaborate and talk to one another about how important it is. We run walk and talk sessions, one at Coatwater and one over at Lydiard for males, females, anybody that wants to come along. But the power in that walk and talk it's ridiculous what it can do. So we're out there just trying to help the community, make a difference to the community. And actually meeting Sinead and Hannah, great opportunity to say, look guys, you're doing this men's walk in Swindon, in our town, and we're all connected, we're all doing that thing. So let's raise that awareness, let's make sure that men are out there and they know there's places to go, and drive it, make it really easy for people to find those resources, if you like.
Ray is joining us, our very own supporters club, Ray Bunce. Ray, you're joining us for a very special reason. Sinead, I hope you don't mind he's wearing the T-shirt because he's.
Oh, it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, because he's doing the walk on Saturday. If it had been later, I would have got there, but obviously living hundreds of miles away, I might not get there in time. But Ray, why are you taking part?
Yeah, it was when it came up, Vic. Obviously, this year we've been, as a supporters club, we've been working, very much for the prospect of our charity work, and that's been great for me. And this kind of was a natural progression for me, really, because they have played a part in my life, not a direct one so much, but sadly, I lost my wife Susanna about 3 years ago with cancer, and we went through, once we knew about the situation, we went through about a year of treatment in and out of hospitals, and the last visit to hospital resulted in the really horrible discussions around palliative care. And at that time, I did speak with somebody from the Prospect, so one of the teams spoke to me around the situation. Obviously there was advice there, but also there was literature on maybe how to think about things, how to deal with the situation that I was about to face. And that was really useful to me. I was fortunate in as much as I was able to get her home. And so we didn't physically end up in the Prospect Hospice. And that was a relatively short time, actually. But I kept that literature. And all the way through the coming kind of months and years afterwards, that was always in my drawer. I kind of picked it up now and again and kind of cross-checked what that information was saying against how I was and how I was taking things on, really. And it became a bit of a fallback position for me. I never picked the phone up. I never, not because I didn't think it was a good thing to do. I just felt I hadn't reached that point, and I was happy that it was there for me as if I needed to. And I'm blessed with a great family and friends. But ultimately, I think if you're going through something like this where you lose, the person you're closest to in the world, ultimately you've got to find a way to sort of almost reinvent yourself, within the framework that is your life. And Prospect was always there for me, although I didn't directly tap in. That conversation was very welcome at the hospital. I didn't directly tap in, but to me, it's really inconceivable that Prospect wouldn't be there, because I know the guys work so hard. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sinead, I think the government fund is only about 18% of what it costs you guys to do that. And for me, it's been, based on my experience and what they meant to me, it's been a privilege this year to be doing the fundraising, and it's been good. We've raised quite a bit of money, which will come out later. But this was a natural next step, one, because of the affiliation that I feel I've got, but two, the kind of ethos of the event, I buy into as well. And I totally know what the guys are saying. That I know we don't talk enough as blokes. And I felt that actually I am willing to talk. And therefore, if I go and do the walk, it's a bit of exercise for me. And I'm happy to talk to anybody along the way as well. And I've got, my life story to share, and so will they have. And unfortunately, my life story is far from unique. And that's why it is so important that we support the Prospect in what they do. So that's kind of my motivation, really, Vic.
Well, I'm very pleased you told us that, Ray, because you don't tend to share a lot, but because it's a very private thing, and we understand that. So very grateful for you to do that. And I mean, Sinead, that's great, isn't it? Because that's what it's kind of about on Saturday, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Ray, for sharing that. And that there will be many people, as Ray said, sadly, it's that kind of story we hear more often than we'd like to. And there will be many people who will be walking in memory. There'll be many people who will be walking because they've had, direct support from the hospice. But there also will be many people who are walking who just can relate to the daily pressures and challenges of life generally. This event for us, it's kind of inspired a little bit by, there are other men's walks around the country that other hospices do, and in particular our neighbouring hospice, Dorothy House Hospice, have run a version of one for the last 10 years. I actually went along and volunteered at that one a few weeks ago, and the men absolutely love it. I mean, I was kind of on the gate welcoming them in the morning, and it's a really important event to them. You know, the amount of times I kind of heard them coming in saying this is the best day of my year, you know, and turning up and like meeting familiar faces again. There's lots of stories of men who actually turn up on their own but just get chatting so easily to people, you know, and by the end of the walk they feel like they've been friends with this person they've walked beside for years. I think it's a really special and unique event, and you know, I think like we've all said, bringing in, you know, we're linking in with other support organizations and local men's groups like Best Mates, you know, the brilliant Jeff there and the work he's doing, because it's important. Like I say, it's bigger than a fundraising event for our hospice. It's a real community need, and we want to do our best, you know, beyond the kind of end of life care we support, to give back support to our community as well, who we're sadly very dependent on to continue running our services.
Sure. Nikki sends best wishes to you, Ray, so that's lovely to have. Dave says, I don't think we'll go up in the playoffs. Prospects are amazing. So there you go. This is a question from Nick. He says, as a season ticket holder, I'm signed up for the walk. Are you having to pay for each ticket you are giving walkers? Trying to work out if I should sell it and donate the proceeds, or opt out of the ticket and save you costs. Now, can you explain what that situation is?
Oh, happy to. Yeah. So we've had a couple of these questions, and again, this just highlights the incredible support of the club behind who are backing this event. You know, so because of the partnership with the club, they're providing the match tickets. They're giving us a dedicated space in the Stratton Bank. They're supporting with logistics on the day. Everything they're doing is helping to keep the costs as low as possible for us, so that as much of the income that's coming through those ticket sales can go directly to care. So in answer to the question, it doesn't cost us a thing for the match tickets. That kind of registration fee that we ask for is to cover the other costs associated with the event, and then we just encourage participants to do some fundraising alongside it.
Yeah, because any event that sort of takes part in public roads, there's a lot of you can't just rock up and do 300 people walking along a road, can you? It's there's a lot goes into it.
Yes, this event has been in the works. I'm trying to think now, since the end last summer, basically. So we've been planning it since then, really. And yes, we're very excited about it. We've been doing a little bit of PR around it. A couple of months ago, we had a team in to do a locker room chat. They filmed a locker room chat that featured Lewis Ward and Adam LaBelle. There was some of our own team there from the hospice. There was Dave from our family support team, and James, who sadly lost his wife Becca. And it's a really honest and moving conversation, and it gives you a real flavour for kind of what the tone of the event is. And if anyone's interested in watching that, that's on our event page.
Jeff, why are we like this, blokes? I mean, I don't, it's very difficult, isn't it? It's the sort of age-old thing, isn't it? Well, just get on with it. Why are we like that?
I think it's, us older blokes, which have, we were brought up that way, the stiff upper lip, the man up and get on with it approach, completely wrong to what we believe now. And I just kind of hope that the generations that are coming through now and the education and the stuff that we're learning will change that for people. Why we like it? Well, I just think that was just the way it was back then. You go back to when we were all kids, life was just a completely different scenario altogether. And I think over the last sort of, I don't know how many years it is, but you see the men's mental health thing really, really being driven. We're running a charity that helps everyone, and having that always come back, men's mental health always comes to the top because it's such a big thing now. So, and that just tells you that the landscape is changing, and as Sinead says there, when these guys turn up and they just start walking and chatting, I'm looking forward to being there and supporting Saturday morning and saying a few words to the guys and just telling them, as you're walking along, turn to the guy to the right or the left of you and just say hello and tell him what your name is. And that walking thing just takes away the anxiety, the you know, those, all the things that a bloke wouldn't normally talk, and suddenly you just find yourself flowing into a conversation. So I think it's a massive thing. And you know, the little thing, you know, obviously prospects are doing this because you need to raise some money, awareness and so on. But it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper. And this is where we need to all collaborate and come together to look after all of those people, make sure they know that, you know, that it's there for them. You know, go out and have a walk, go and do this. I think one of the things I come back to when we talk about the football is, I think it was the Norwich football fans. Did you see the video about that?
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yeah,
the power in that video. As you're watching it, you think it's the other guy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then at the end, and I just think, you know, wow, what an awareness video that is. And the person that came up with that, I mean, absolute genius. But yeah, I mean, that's
just to explain, there are two blokes side by side, both Norwich fans. One is really happy like this, bouncing around. The other one is sort of like this. And this goes 2 or 3 games. And then after about 2 or 3 games, the one who's like this isn't there. And that really was, very stark, wasn't it? Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I will say, you know, just kind of following on from what Jeff just talked about as well, the design of this event is very deliberate. So every detail has really been kind of thought through to ensure that essentially it's fulfilling its purpose to do its best to facilitate those conversations that are going to be supportive and benefit people. You know, and as Jeff mentioned, walking as an activity, you know, scientifically and psychologically, it's proven that walking side by side and being side by side rather than face to face is far less pressure. It feels safer. It's more natural, you know, it lowers people's levels of like defensiveness and even just like the shared rhythm of that physical walking creates connection. And then of course it complement that, and the football complement each other so well, because, you know, we recognize that football is really familiar and like holds huge cultural relevance for local men. It creates this shared sense of identity and belonging, which in itself reduces those barriers. You know, and the Nigel Eady County Ground is home to so many in Swindon and the surrounding areas. You know, people already associate it with routine and community and camaraderie. So it all just complements each other really nicely.
Lawrence says, hi all, good luck to everyone involved, such a good cause. So that's nice. Thank you very much, Lauren. Ray, I mean, you know, I'm somebody who finds it very difficult to talk to people. You know, we are very strange, aren't we? And I'm not just talking about blokes here. I mean, we are quite reserved as a nation.
Yeah. Do
you find it difficult, Ray, to sort of open up to people, talk to people?
Yes and no. I think probably, you know, I think I agree with Jeff. The sort of, you know, the era we were brought up in very much was very different to today. So it's a positive how things have moved on. And I, you know, as a youngster, I experienced kind of like a short phase of anxiety, and I kind of it taught me a little bit about what it is to be struggling with your mental health. That was many years ago. And so I kind of, that opened me up, I think, to being able to talk a little bit more, which has stood me in good stead. And I honestly think that, you know, what happened in my younger life ultimately set me up to cope with what's happened in my later life. I genuinely believe that was the case. So although, you know, it's difficult when people are struggling with their mental health, it's, you know, you can use it as a strong stepping stone, and it can actually go on to really support you. So I think, long answer, but I think, you know, I'm better these days at talking than I used to be. But I do, you know, the walking, absolutely. I mean, I love walking anyway, but I totally take that on board, because you do relax that little bit, and it just takes you out of yourself a little bit. And I also think, you know, the link to the football is a really good link into talking to people. Usually because you're both moaning in our case, but it is you know, that's another thing that gives you that initial conversation, because I'm not a great small talk person, but I find it easy to talk about football, so it's another lead in.
Yeah, we moaned a lot on the way back from Colchester, didn't we? Take us through the logistics of this thing then, Sinead, because as I said, you just don't go. Hang on, I'm just going to read this from Glyn before we get onto that. Hi, Glyn. I went through a bad situation about 10 years ago. I had severe depression and I wanted to end my life, but I got help and got over it. And I do have my down days. I lost my daughter 18 months ago. She was 26 and I went downhill. I'm a lot better now. One thing I've found is to talk to people about it. It does help, believe me. Glyn, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
You see, that's a very brave thing to do, isn't it? To sort of share that with people, and I think many will sympathise with that. Okay, the logistics of this thing then.
Yes.
A little bit earlier than you thought, but what's happening?
So it's an 8-mile walk. We're starting at the hospice itself in the gardens there. We'll have the lovely Jeff around and a couple of others as well to send us off. And essentially the route kind of deliberately goes through some of Swindon's landmarks. And we've got some surprise and delight moments, we shall say. A particular feature is our halfway point, which is at Hall and Wood House in Whitchelstow. And then when walkers arrive at the Nigel Eady County Ground, of course, they'll be greeted by our team, the very warm welcome. And they'll be able to get their free food and drink, go into the game. And also the ticket comes with a commemorative T-shirt, as Ray is fashioning there for us so nicely. So essentially registration or check-in starts in the morning in the hospice gardens at 8 a.m. Everyone will set off at 9. Kind of average walk-in pace, you'll be there in plenty of time for kickoff. But for those who are a little bit anxious that it might take them longer, we can reassure people that they will still be admitted if it's after kickoff. So
yeah, and just to warn you that some poor souls after walking 8 miles might have to talk to somebody on the pitch about it. So just thought I'd warn you about that.
Yes.
Jeff, we've heard a lovely example from Glyn about how he felt with his losses in his life and depression. Ray's told his story. What would be your final words to somebody tonight? I mean, if you need to, pick up a phone, just talk to somebody, anybody.
Yeah, I think, we started Best Mates a couple of years back now, just over 2 years old. We started it on the basis that we wanted to create a space for people to be able to do just that, reach out and have someone to talk to. So the whole initiative here, I suppose, when I say about making sure these services are available to people, it's all well and good saying ring that number, but that don't work. We have to build those communities around families and people and in these worlds which just say, you can reach out and you can go and do this. You can go and do the Men That Walk. You can come to a walk and talk, to get involved with like-minded people. And I think that's where the magic works, because suddenly you're talking, what it's like, you're talking about your problem and somebody else has got a bigger problem, and it gets the conversation going. So for me, I think, the ideal world is people don't need what we do. People are out there talking and doing the right thing. I don't want to have to run a charity called Best Mates because we shouldn't be needed. It's never going to go away. So I think my words to anybody that's listening in is, do have a look out there and have a look around your local community, because I'll tell you what, Swindon is absolutely flourishing with loads of these little things. And I'm just running a campaign to try and get that louder, more awareness of it, because this town is absolutely loaded with so many amazing little groups doing stuff that make a big difference. So look, reach out, Google. There's plenty of stuff out there. Get on the socials and so on, but there is loads out there. And if all else fails, reach out to us. You will always signpost you to the right place and the right way. We never turn anyone away. We always look for that option to say, right, I can't actually help you, but I'm going to take you to this company or this person, and they will take you on the journey you need to go on. So, and we're all there to do it. So please do reach out, speak.
Lovely. Thanks, Jeff. Sinead, your final words, because we're going to talk to Ray about a memorabilia fair, which is also, guess what? Giving money to Prospect. You're getting every single penny. How about that? So what are your final words?
I think I would just say I'm kind of as always, the generosity of our community never ceases to amaze me, and I think I feel so positive about this event on so many levels. It's very personal to me as well. I'm delighted with kind of the belief that seems to be behind it, and so many people seem to be on board with it. And this is just the first time, first hopefully of many. So we're all really excited for it. Thank you so much to everybody who's supporting it, whether you're taking part, walking, whether we've got, we've worked alongside 10 partners to deliver this event, whether they're sponsoring, promoting, all our volunteers, there's just so many people who bring this whole thing together. So just say a big thank you and look forward to seeing you all on Saturday.
Yeah, just a couple of things from Nikki. Nikki says it's such an amazing thing you're all doing. A massive well done to you all. And will this be a regular thing, do you think?
Yes. What we want is to create an annual moment of connection for men through this event. So yes, we're very much hoping it will be an annual event.
And if people want to sort of get involved and they still got time to do that, what should they do?
Yes, so you can still register. Registrations will be open even on the morning of the event. So you can go to prospect-hospice.net/men's-walk.
Brilliant.
All the details are on there.
Excellent. We'll see you on Saturday, and you'll be there. Are you going to the game, Jeff? Are you doing that as well?
I'll be there to support the Prospect. I won't be at the game, but I'll be at the starting line.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, we wish you both all the very best with it, and it's going to be a fantastic day. And well, more power to your collective elbows. That's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us on and for all you do all year round as well. It's just fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all the best. Thank you.
Well, I will definitely see you, Sinead and Jeff, on Saturday morning, so I'll be there at the start. So
brilliant.
Look forward to it, Chris.
Thanks ever so much for taking part in this tonight, and all the best.
Thank you.
All right, see you soon. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Right, Ray. We're going to talk memorabilia fairs now, because that's happening on Sunday at the Legends Lounge. What can we expect? We've had a couple of these before. This is in aid of Prospect, of course, but what can we expect on Sunday?
Yeah, we can expect quite a lot of memorabilia, as the name suggests. We've got quite a lot of various kind of things from over the years, and it can be anything. We've got a massive program inventory. So programs you need for your collection, from special dates in your life, that sort of thing, there's a very good chance we've got it. So we've got a massive collection. We've got a load of books. We've got things like prints and pictures and shirts, that type of thing there. And we're hoping to add a couple of bits to it as well for this weekend. So there's quite a bit of, it's obviously very Swindon biased, but there is some other non-Swindon memorabilia there as well. We've got our own collection of non-Swindon programs, for example, and books and things as well. Yeah.
So, 10 o'clock it starts.
Yeah.
How many tables will we got? Do we know how many tables we got so far?
Yeah, we're probably up at about 12-ish tables probably of memorabilia at the moment. That's a good point, actually. That can still change. So we'd happily take on more sellers at this point. So we basically just asked for £10 per seller for a table, and that money goes to the Prospect. So if anybody is still thinking about it, we'd love to have you there on Sunday.
Yeah, anything you're looking for or not?
Yeah, in terms of actual donations still, so in particular things like shirts, they always go really well. So if you have got any shirts that you wish to donate to us, if you could you can contact us through the email address, but also if you'd like to drop anything off at the Accrington game on Saturday, that would be absolutely fantastic. So particularly things like shirts, books, I would say programs, but I'm in the middle of sifting out a massive inventory at the moment. But we always take them. And just on that note, I'd like to say a massive thank you for everybody that's supported again through the season. We've had a terrific amount of donations that have enabled us to make money every week on the program sale. So to everybody, thank you ever so much for your donation so far.
Yeah, we should say best wishes to Helen as well, who's been a massive contributor to that, hasn't she?
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get well soon, Helen. You're feeling better soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's as I say, it's free entry on Sunday, so there's no charge to come and have a walk round. But so we'd like to see as many of you there as possible. And as I say, that's the next step in our fundraising for the prospect. Probably just backtracking, what I should say as well is to get the plug in. Please, if anybody does want to sponsor me on Saturday, we did put the link in our newsletter this last week or so, but we're going to put a message out on the socials again this week. So if you do want to sponsor me, that would be fantastic. Obviously, again, everything going to the prospect.
Right. Well, on the subject of sponsorship, if I might interrupt and say, yes, I'll be trudging around 26 miles of London in a week on Sunday. Goodness only knows why, but that's in aid of Phoenix Enterprises, who were our charity of the year last year. And so far, I've had fantastic support. I really appreciate every single penny that has been put. All that goes to Phoenix. I don't get a penny of it. On Saturday, in the Legends, I'll have a little sheet and put a quid in and just put down what you think will be my finishing time. It won't be 2 hours. It won't be 3 hours. It's unlikely to be 4 hours. Any time between 5.5 and 7 hours. Have a guess. Simple as that. There'll be a sheet there on Saturday and a little cut, and then all that money will go to Phoenix. So if you want to do that, fantastic. And also there's a link on our newsletter, I think, as well.
There is. Yeah,
Yes.
there is. So everything's on the newsletter. And if anybody's got any queries, just either email us or put something on Facebook and we'll get back to you with anything. So, but if anybody can sponsor Ray or Vic or both, then both very worthwhile causes. And we wish you both the best of luck. I'll be there at the start and then jumping in my car and going to the halfway point. but yeah, so... but no, it's going to be a good day on Saturday.
Yeah,
so,
hope the weather's good. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we can only do what we can. So with that, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much, Ray. Thank you, Vic. Thank you for our guest tonight. It's been a bit of a mismatch, two bits of different, talking about two different subjects, but both very important. Vic and I will be back next Monday to review the Accrington game, and also we'll have Ray on to probably, if he can make it, to see how he got on and what his experiences were. So if you're available, Ray, that'd be brilliant. And yes, and so come and shout on the lads on Saturday. Very depressing on Friday, but that's behind us now. So let's look forward to Saturday and see what we can do. So
yes, and we should mention, of course, Falls Rush In will be with us at 9 o'clock. Should you wish to have more Swindon Town content.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing, the ladies won 4-0 yesterday, which means they are second in the league, 1 point below Moneyfields. So on the 26th, so the day that Vic will be trudging round London, the women will be down in Moneyfields going for the title. So very, very big day that is for both you and the women's game. So
yeah, I suggest their game will be a lot shorter than my trudging will be.
Bless you. Well, everybody have a good week, and we will see you next Monday or at the game on Saturday. Right, take care. Bye-bye.